While it's not always easy to prevent misunderstandings from occurring, it is important for people who need to communicate with those from other backgrounds to take some time to learn the cultural norms involved. It's also a good idea to clear up misunderstandings as soon as possible.
Oh, look, Emily sent me an email. Dear Mildred, the class took their first exam yesterday and I have them graded. I will come to your office tomorrow at 2 p.m. to discuss the grades each student received. I will see you then. Best wishes, Emily Yang. She called me by my first name? Maybe I should ask her to call me Dr. Murphy. And she wants to meet me? It's really not necessary. I'll let her know she doesn't have to come.
Emily, there's no need to come to my office to discuss the grades. Just write each student's score next to their name on the roster and give it to me at the beginning of the next class. Also, for future reference, please address me as Dr. Murphy. I wonder what this means. Is she mad I call her Mildred? Why doesn't she want to meet with me? I will call Danny and ask her opinion. Danny, read this email from my cooperating professor. She is very upset with me, and I think I will going to be fired.
Let me see. Oh my gosh, Emily, I can't believe you called her Mildred. You can't call a professor by their first name.
Why not?
In the United States, it's polite to address a professor by their title. People work very hard for their title, and it's important that they like being called Dr. So-and-so.
She must be upset. She said she didn't want to meet with me.
Did she tell you to meet with her after you graded the test? Why would you assume that? Maybe she thinks you're crossing some boundaries. You should just ask her next time when she's free instead.
People have different viewpoints, and it is difficult to understand the tone of voice over email. Tone can be hard to discern over email and any other digital communication. Misunderstood tones sometimes result in some mild awkwardness, but at worst it can damage a professional relationship. Some ways to minimize the misconnections are to figure out the style of someone's writing. Taking note of how someone writes may indicate how you should reply. Less is more. Keep the message concise to avoid confusion. In a professional environment, play it safe and be straightforward. If you still feel tension or confusion, don't hesitate to pick up the phone to explain yourself. For example, if you're confused, you can say, "Sorry, I think we have misunderstood each other," or "I think my message may have been confusing. What I meant was..."
Hi, Emily. What's wrong? You look upset.
I sent an email to my professor calling her by her first name, and she didn't like that.
I think that's fine. I call professors by their first name all the time.
I also wanted to meet with her, but she told me not to come.
She probably doesn't think it's necessary to meet. If you feel that you want to meet and get some advice, let her know that next time you see her in person. If I was in your position, I would want to meet with her also. It was the first test. You didn't know.
Danny thought she was upset too.
Sometimes it's difficult to understand the tone of a person's voice through email. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
It is very important to consider cultural differences when communicating with someone via email or in person. Sometimes it's helpful to consult a peer or friend to find out what the cultural norms are to avoid an awkward situation, unnecessary stress, or possibly offending someone. For example, in our culture, we use eye contact when communicating and to show we are listening. In some cultures, this may be considered inappropriate. We are very polite. We like to say please when asking for something, for instance. However, in some other cultures, a more direct approach is used, which may appear rude to us. It's important to learn the social and language conventions of other cultures and not take offense at what appears to be abruptness. Modern-day technology allows for easy and instant communication, but it's important to keep in mind how your words can be interpreted in an email.